Yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on.
Hi everybody, it's Dave, the Red Pill Coach, and I'm back again for another week to teach you guys how to make your life better and how to make your relationships work. On this video channel, we're doing a couple things in case you haven't figured it out already. We are, first of all, identifying for men how they can gain power and take control of their relationships. And perhaps more importantly, we are also explaining to men why they should do so. So today we're going to deal with the why question once again. Because if you fail to learn about female behaviors, you're going to get burned, folks. You're going to get burned. So we're going to learn kind of indirectly today about a specific female behavior. And that is, why do they always ask, where are all the good men? And I want to answer that question for you guys today. Where are all the good men? As it turns out, they're gone. So in this series, we have talked about Gottman, and we've talked about various concepts related to Gottman therapy, including bids for attention, how to respond to them, how to make them. We've talked about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, of the divorce apocalypse: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And we have talked about flooding and how to control it and how to begin a conversation with a soft startup and avoid an argument from the beginning. So really it's a full system for interacting with your spouse. But in this series we are also learning about why you should use these techniques and why you should use them to get power in your relationships. We've learned about the ridiculously unfair divorce laws. We've covered the Duluth model of domestic violence, which says that even if a man has shards of glass embedded in his skull and the wife has no injuries, the man goes to jail because he was the aggressor. And we've learned that that's completely false, that in fact women are more often the aggressor in violence in relationships, yet it's the men who always get arrested. So we've covered the domestic violence racket used to bludgeon men, and we've also covered, in a beginning way, the Me Too movement and in light of the Justice Kavanaugh hearings, and how women now want the power. The power they have is not overwhelming enough. Now they want the power to come back 35, 39 years later and make wild allegations and torpedo a man's chance. That's what they're going for, folks, and that's what we're trying to stop. First of all, by recognizing it. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the why. I'm going to talk about why you should take control of your relationships, and I'm going to do it from the perspective of the women. Because, and I'll give you the answer right away. You should take power in your relationships because that is sexually exciting to women. It is what women want. They want their man to take charge. So if you're in a dead bedroom marriage, if you're in a marriage where the sex isn't happening, I can guarantee you, in almost every case, that is because the woman has decided you are powerless, you're pathetic, you're worthless. Get a clue and learn how to build your power, learn how to use it. As many of you know, I am a moderator of the Married Red Pill Forum along with Ask Married Red Pill, and I have been for a number of years. In this forum, we collaborate on these power issues, and we figure out, just like the feminists do, their goal is to take power from men and give it to women. Married Red Pill's goal is to take power from women and give it to men. And for that, we're called misogynistic. We hate women. You must have been hurt. Who hurt you? Did your mother not hug you enough? Yes, we've heard all that. And you know what? We don't care. Unfortunately, on Reddit, we don't ask the question of why very often. Why should men get control? And if it's answered, it's answered in terms of sex. Well, you should get control because you'll get more sex. And that's certainly a good reason to get control, but it's not the only reason. But the issue is that Married Red Pill is all about coordinating on how to gain and exercise the power, not about whining about women. So, I have my YouTube channel to whine about women, so that is what I am going to do in this video today. In order to understand why men should seize control of their relationships by any means necessary, you have to understand the societal dynamics that result when women have total power and when men have their power and authority taken away. In short, the end game of female empowerment, the end game of feminism, the end game of Me Too, and all these other hashtag movements, there's one end game, and that's to disempower men. The problem is, they haven't thought beyond what happens when we get all the power and men are ground to dust under our feet. Well, what will happen, ladies, and what is happening, ladies, is that there will be no more good men for you to crush up and grind beneath your feet, because they will not place them beneath their feet. Men, in short, will go on strike. They will not tolerate this for very much longer. And we're seeing it in the figures and the increasing wails and howls of women saying, "Where are all the good men?" Well, I'm telling you where the good men are. They've been crushed to dust under the high heels of a femocracy. So men are increasingly refusing to get married. They're refusing to commit to long-term relationships to women. And the top 10 or 15, 20% of men engage in this behavior we call pump and dump. They hook up with girls, have sex with them, and then don't call them back. Why? Because men do not want to get into a long-term relationship with a woman. Full stop. They don't want to lose their power. They don't want to lose access to sex. They don't want to be controlled, manipulated, and crushed beneath the boot of a stomping, harpy female. What?
I think they want to go potty.
What? Go inside, Jeannie. Now, of course, influencing your partner is not a bad thing. It's something that happens in the few good marriages that I've seen, and it's a good thing to allow your partner to influence you. It's a good thing for a captain of the ship to listen to his crew. These are all good things, except in a typical marriage today, it is the man who is influenced, not the woman. The woman has all the power in a marriage. The woman gets access to the children by default. The woman can prevent the man from seeing his children if she chooses. The woman can throw the man out of his home at a heartbeat. The woman can throw the man in jail anytime she chooses. This is the power, some of the power that women have, and that's even before you get to court, folks. Once you get into divorce court, then you learn how much power women really have. Because not only do they take away your freedom, your manhood, and your ambition and drive, they take away all of your ability to earn a living. They take away your ability to see your children. That's probably most important. And they do it with no guilt and no consequences whatsoever. Parental alienation is a real thing, and it happens in probably 75% of divorce cases. And not a single time, I think I've heard of one case where a woman was prosecuted for parental alienation. One time. And it happens 3/4 of the time when a divorce is filed. So, it seems to me that balance is a little bit off. So a man has no power in a relationship except the power to walk away. and frankly, find somebody better. If a man has that power, the woman will treat him with kindness and defer to his authority. She will be sweet. She will be sexually available. If a man does not have the power to walk away and he's trapped, a woman will shit test him into oblivion. She will continue shit testing him while he's holding the gun up to his mouth, getting ready to pull the trigger. She won't stop until he's dead, or until he mans up and tells her to knock it the fuck off. Those are your two options as a man. And the more a man invests in a relationship, the more a man commits to a woman, the more power he loses. Because if a man's only power is the power to walk away with the clothes on his back, the more he commits to a woman, the more we have the sunken cost fallacy of a woman who is difficult to leave. And then when she has her little hostages, aka children, it's almost impossible to leave without ripping apart your soul in the process. And by committing to a woman is overjoyed at first. She snaps her fingers, she orders him around, she pulls out her list out of her ass and tells him what to do and says, do this, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that. Oh, this is number 47 on my list. Oh, we crossed that off. Well, here's number 48. It never ends. Women delight in making men twist and turn and torment and suffer because it makes them feel powerful. To keep a man in a silent rage and constantly on edge. That is the goal of feminism. The goal of feminism is to make men fear women, and I would argue they have succeeded. Feminism has openly repeated over and over again in their papers, in their congresses, in private correspondences, in classes, over and over again, they have said the power of men is the target, and what we want to do is take power from men and give it to women. That's what's going on. That's what feminism is all about, and probably 99% of women support at least first-wave feminism. Go ahead, I dare you. Go ahead and ask any woman if she's willing to give up the right to vote. Ask any woman if she's willing to submit to her husband, like the Bible commands. Ask him. No woman will agree. All women are in on this game, folks. And until we realize that this is a death match, and we are in a fight for our life, until we start treating it like a fight for our life, we are not going to win. Feminism wants men in fear every time they interact with a woman. They want women to be able to come by 39 years later and bring up unsubstantiated charges and torpedo a man's chance at the job of a lifetime. They want that power, and they say, believe women. Well, what does that mean? Believe women. I mean, women lie all the time. All the time. It's incredible. And we're expected to believe women when we know that they lie all the time. No, we don't believe women. We believe women if they make a police report and there's physical evidence to corroborate it. If you think you're going to come back years later and make an unsubstantiated charge, you can just go to hell, bitches. That's my message for you. And the bottom line is, feminism and women in general want men to have no power and them to have all the power. And there's a problem with that. Because the problem is directly related to the female vagina, and the vagina tingles. Women do not get the tingles from men who do not have any power. So feminism has conspired to, or along with all women, has conspired to strip away power from all men. And then women realize, wait a minute, we're not attracted to men without power. Oh, should have thought of that when you started this whole thing, but I guess logic isn't the forte of most women. The Red Pill observer who's listening to this videotape will understand what's going on. Women are vampires. They're emotional vampires. They feed off your emotion. They will suck your blood. They will suck your energy. They will suck you dry into a dry, crumpled husk. And then they'll take their high heels and stomp on them and crush you. That is what they will do if you let them. My suggestion is that you don't let them. Because women are sexually turned off by powerless men. They hate it. They claim this is what they want, and then when they get it, they hate it. They claim and they fight to get all power in a marriage, and then when they get it, they decide, oh, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. That's what they say. So it's in your interest to learn how to get power, to learn how to seize it, to learn how to take it, and to learn how to keep it. Because when you're lying on the ground, crumpled into a withered husk, your woman will not stoop down to help you pick up the pieces. She will step right over you into the arms of the next guy who she does respect. Women don't care about the man. They care about how the man can make them feel. If you can spark feelings in the woman, you have a chance. If she's cold and distant, next. Move on. And if you're married and she's cold and distant, follow the plan of dread. Give it a year. And then, if that doesn't help, move on. So women have coordinated their attacks to seize power from men, and yes, they have succeeded. But now we got these hordes of powerless men wandering around aimlessly, and all of a sudden we're hearing the chorus from women, where have all the good men gone? Well, gee, since you destroyed them all, maybe that's where they went. Just a thought. Of the men that are left, the quote-unquote good men are few and far between. Most of what we have left are manginas, cucks, simps, assholes, jerks. People who wouldn't know a man if he punched them in the face. People who roll over and pussy beg and do whatever their wives want. That's who's left. The babies. The big fat babies crying to their mommy to make it all better. That's who's left. And when a man is sobbing, holding his wife in his arms, and his wife is, yuck, and thinking to herself, where have all the good men went? You now have your answer. You killed them. It's simply not in men's nature to fight women. When men are challenged by women, we back off. We look the other way. We ultimately end up stonewalling and ignoring them. That's how we deal with conflict with women. Because we are taught from birth that you're not allowed to fight back to a woman. So we're prevented from fighting back, but they come out with tooth and claw and weapons. Is that a fair fight? No, it is not a fair fight. The good men, the one that the women want, are out there chucking and fucking and pumping and dumping all of the not-so-good women. The top 10% of men get about 80 to 90% of the women. And that's a fact. That's called hypergamy. It is well known in the manosphere, called the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. And it's even worse today with social media, because women can literally go through Tinder and find a meat market. Oh, there's a good-looking guy, there's a good-looking guy. Swipe left, he's an average guy, he's an average guy. Most men are ugly to women. Most women are beautiful to men. And that's the difference. When you give power to the group that considers the other group beautiful and worthy of protection, then good things happen. When you give power to the group that considers the other group gross and not worthy of attention or affection or love, then bad things happen. So it's not that men are weak when they withdraw, it's that they simply are not going to fight a woman. It's a man behaving like a man, leaving the scene before he has to lose his cool and fight a woman. So what is it? What is this power that we're talking about? I think we have to go back in history to understand exactly what I'm saying when I say men have had all the power taken from them in marriage. So let me take a minute to explain to you what it is men have lost in marriage. First of all, Marriage. Marriage has been the foundation of society since there was society. Marriage is a fundamental building block of our culture, and it has come under attack. What is marriage? Marriage is an institution where the man takes care of his wife and family by the sweat of his brow, where the man works himself to death and dies at a young age, and the woman has babies, stays home, takes care of the babies, and keeps a nice and pleasant house for her husband. Now, a woman can go out and work. She can do anything now today. She certainly doesn't stay home and bake cookies for her husband. That would be insulting, don't you know? Men had responsibility and they had authority. So modern culture has taken away all of that authority, except the power to walk away with the clothes on your back. Today's marriage is nothing but a festival of shit test after shit test after shit test that women give men, and men either pass or they don't pass. And the way they pass is they simply don't care. So the only weapons men have in marriage today are the weapons to not care, to care less for the wife than she cares for you, and to walk away. So marriage has become unbalanced. Women get the kids, the money, the house, the dogs. Women have the power. Men get the clothes on their back. That's number one. What else have men lost? Well, they lost sex. Until the 1970s, there was no concept of marital rape, or I should say a marital snuggle struggle. There was no concept of marital rape. Men and women, husband and wife, were considered one flesh. They were unified in marriage. That's how it worked. And you can't rape yourself, so therefore you couldn't rape your wife. So feminists have characterized this as men would brutally rip open women and beat the hell out of them and rape their bloody bodies. And that's how husbands behave with their wives. It's all bullshit. Men almost never exerted that power. The point is, they had that power. Imagine how much the dynamics in your marriage would differ if your wife was carping and bitching and complaining about nothing, and you listen to her for a half hour, and then you say, you know what, I think we need to have sex, go in the bedroom. And she shuts up and goes in the fucking bedroom and lays down. Imagine how your power dynamics would differ in that marriage. And you can't imagine it, but I can guarantee you this. A wife in that type of marriage is much happier than the typical American wife today. The remedy for these poor, put-upon, raped women who were brutally violated every night was very simple. If they didn't want to be in marriage, they got out of the marriage. Women could divorce their husbands. Oh, I know, it's a shock, but it's true. Women divorced their husbands if they were abusive. So I hope you could see what the marital rape laws did. They were a classic bait and switch. They were saying one thing, oh, we wanted to protect women from being raped, but really it was about making sure that women have the final say in who gets to have sex in a marriage. So therefore, the whole idea of marriage, with that one sweeping change, the whole idea of marriage was destroyed. Marriage is no longer about a man and a woman. Marriage is about the woman. Happy wife, happy life. If the woman doesn't want to have sex, guess what? Too bad. What are you, a creep? You get shamed into silence. So women have total control over sex in marriage. So they've destroyed marriage, changed it into something that it's not. Then they destroyed the meaning of sexual relations in marriage. What else do you think they would go for? Well, they went for respect. Because even more than sex, in marriage men want respect and love of their wives. So what did they do? They changed the culture. They changed the media. They changed the portrayals of women on TV. I just saw yesterday a commercial where a woman was shown holding hands with a man, and she was reading Glamour magazine and he was reading Popular Mechanics. And there was an outrage of horror like you couldn't believe. Oh, you mean women just read Glamour? We're not able to read Popular Mechanics. Yeah, sweetheart, almost no woman reads Popular Mechanics. And almost no man reads Glamour. There's a reason for sexual stereotypes, because women and men are different. But this company had to retract the ad and issue an apology. We certainly didn't want to play into gender stereotypes. Oh no. So what did they do? It's okay to portray men as bumbling dumpkins, as fools who need the help of their wives and children to find their butthole in the morning. That's fine. And what is all that? That's respect. So feminism conspired to change the culture to remove respect from men. They removed marriage, they removed sex, then they went for respect. And what is on TV, men used to be portrayed as rugged individualists, as strong, empowered men who controlled the women and the other men in their lives. Do you know John Wayne in the 1960s had 2 movies where he took a mouthy, bratty woman, threw her over his knee, and spanked her hard. That was in the 1960s. Imagine how your relationship would differ with your wife if she's screaming and carping and yelling and you throw her over your knee and spank her on the butt. You think that might help your relationship? I happen to think it would. Today, men are portrayed as weak and helpless. They're portrayed as pathetic. They're portrayed as lower than women, while women are elevated above them. Women today cannot just read Popular Mechanics. They can grab it out of the man's hand and beat the hell out of him while they're doing it, if you watch movies today. So the goal has been to remove marriage, sex, and respect from men, and they have been successful. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, they removed the power from men to enforce their will or else. In the 1960s and 70s, they had a show called The Honeymooners, where Ralph Cranbon would frequently threaten his wife. He would say, "One of these days, Alice, boom, right in the kisser, straight to the moon." That's what he would say. And it was a joke. He never hit his wife. He never had to, because his wife knew that he could if it became necessary. And now, these power roles have been reversed. Now women have the power anytime they choose to summon their enforcers and have you thrown in a jail cell. That's right. Men used to be able to say, "Enough, go to your room, I'm not listening to you complain anymore." Now if a man does that, even if he says it, the woman can call the police and have the man arrested for domestic violence. So what happened to the good men? They were murdered in the cradle by feminist ideology. And those who survived the cradle were killed by their mothers, their lovers, their friends, their girlfriends, by the culture. And they were turned into mangina cucks, whose only goal in life is to get a hold of some oversized XXXX panties with shit stains and blood in them so he can sniff them. That's the man's overriding goal. Most men in life, just so they can get a sniff of some shit-stained panties. And what about the other 10% or 15% of men who are quote-unquote good men? Well, they're out pumping and dumping all you good women. And the rest of the good men? They decided that masturbation and looking at a fake girl or even a cartoon online is preferable to dealing with the typical woman of today. Try to imagine how bad women must be for men to prefer masturbation and porn to interacting with a woman today. So try to imagine how bad women must suck for the vast majority of men to prefer masturbation and porn over interacting with a woman. And that's not men's fault, ladies. Sorry. That falls 100% on the back of Team Woman. So what do we do about the good men leaving? What do we do about getting the good men to come back? Well, the answer is very simple. Women are not going to behave in a way that causes men to come back to them. Women must be forced to behave in ways that will allow men to come back to them and to be husbands and providers and protectors. They must be forced. Does anyone want to take the first step? I didn't think so.